begins on an ordinary morning, the kind where nothing is supposed to happen. Yet somewhere out there sat a trophy that millions of fans loved more than anything in sport. It stood for glory, for history, and for the dreams of entire nations. And then, one day, it simply vanished into thin air, not once, but twice. Two daring thefts that turned this trophy into a legend. But the first ending was one nobody could have predicted. It wasn't a detective, and it wasn't the police, and it certainly wasn't a football star. The hero of this story was the most unexpected one imaginable, a scruffy little dog named Pickles. But to understand how a dog saved the World Cup, we have to wind the clock back, long before the trophy we know today ever existed. Football's greatest prize was the Jules Rimet Trophy. It was named after Jules Rimet, the FIFA president who dreamed the World Cup into life. From 1930 onward, it was handed to the champions of the world. Every 4 years, nations battled for the chance to raise it overhead. For the players, it meant a lifetime of sweat and sacrifice. For the fans, it was national pride on the greatest stage of all. To the world, this trophy was simply priceless. It wasn't just gold. It was history you could hold. In 1966, England got ready to host the World Cup. Excitement spread through every town and street. To celebrate, the famous trophy went on display in London. Crowds gathered just to stand before football's most treasured prize. Everything seemed calm, and the security seemed perfectly fine. But one man eyed that trophy with a very different idea. A thief was watching, quietly waiting for his moment. And when that moment came, the trophy was gone. The glass case stood empty where the prize had been. Just like that, football's greatest treasure had vanished. The news tore across England overnight. Shock turned to panic as officials realized how serious this was. How could something so important simply disappear? The police threw everything they had into the investigation. Detectives hunted for clues and chased down every witness. No lead was too small to follow. The headlines screamed from every front page. Soon the story had spread around the entire world. Fans everywhere watched the mystery unfold. Days slipped by, and still the trophy stayed missing. Then a ransom demand arrived from the thieves. For a moment, police hoped it might lead them straight to the prize. A suspect was caught and arrested, but the trophy was still nowhere to be found. Frustration grew as the mystery only deepened. It began to look like the greatest prize in football was lost for good. But far from the investigation, an unlikely hero was about to step in. A little dog named Pickles, who had no idea what he was about to do. One quiet evening, Pickles went for a walk with his owner in South London. It felt like an ordinary day, with nothing unusual about it. The streets were still, and neither of them expected to make history. Then suddenly, Pickles froze. Drawn to something near a garden hedge, tucked beneath the bush was a strange little package. Curious as ever, he crept closer to investigate. He sniffed and sniffed, refusing to leave it alone. His owner noticed and bent down to take a closer look. At first it looked like nothing more than an abandoned parcel, but something special was hidden inside. Carefully, the paper was peeled away to reveal a familiar shape. It was the missing Jules Rimet Trophy. Football's greatest treasure had been sitting beneath a bush in South London. The very prize that had baffled the police was suddenly back, and it had been found by a dog. The discovery raced through the news at lightning speed. All across England, people could hardly believe it. A national crisis had been solved in the most unexpected way of all. In an instant, Pickles became a star. The papers crowned him the unlikely hero of the World Cup. Television crews lined up for interviews and photographs. Everywhere he went, people recognized the famous little dog. Overnight, the dog who found the trophy had become a celebrity. His story melted the hearts of football fans around the world. Sometimes, the truth really is stranger than fiction. With the trophy safe again, England could finally focus on the football. The cloud of worry that had hung over the tournament began to lift. Fans turned their eyes back to the matches ahead. The competition roared on, excitement building game by game. England's team carried the hopes of millions on their shoulders, match after match. They climbed closer to glory. Confidence grew with every passing round. The dream of winning a World Cup at home suddenly felt real. And then came the moment every fan had waited for. England were crowned World Cup champions for the very first time. The whole nation erupted with joy. Streets overflowed with celebration. The trophy that had nearly been lost forever was raised high by champions. But the story of the Jules Rimet Trophy was far from over. Football's leaders had learned an important lesson. The theft had shown just how fragile the trophy really was. FIFA wanted to protect its future, so a brand new rule was written. Win the World Cup 3 times, and a nation would keep the trophy forever. It was a reward reserved for football's very greatest. In the years that followed, many nations chased that dream. But one country rose above the rest, a nation famous for beautiful football and legendary players. That nation was Brazil, and its place in history was about to become permanent. Through the 1950s and 1960s, Brazil became football's most dazzling team. Their style of play captivated audiences everywhere. They played with confidence, creativity, and breathtaking skill. Legends rose from one generation to the next. Every tournament strengthened their reputation as a powerhouse. By 1970, they stood right on the edge of history. One more victory would make the trophy theirs forever. The stakes had never been higher. Millions watched as Brazil chased football immortality. Match after match, they proved why they were the best. Their brilliance thrilled fans across the globe. And in the end, Brazil did it. They lifted their 3rd World Cup title. The Jules Rimet Trophy was now Brazil's to keep forever. Football history had turned a brand new page. The famous trophy left FIFA and traveled home to Brazil for good. Supporters celebrated all across the country. The trophy became a symbol of national pride. It was displayed as a treasure of Brazilian football. Many believed its long adventure had finally come to an end. After all, it now belonged to the nation that had earned it. It seemed destined to stay safe forever. But history had one more surprise in store. The Jules Rimet Trophy still hid one final mystery. 13 years later, disaster struck again. In 1983, thieves broke into the headquarters of the Brazilian Football Confederation under the cover of darkness. They carried out a carefully planned heist. The security never stood a chance. Once again, the trophy disappeared. Football's most famous prize had been stolen for a second time. The theft sent shockwaves through Brazil and across the football world. Investigators rushed to piece together what had happened. A major search operation was launched. Detectives chased down every lead they could find. Every clue was examined. Every witness was questioned. But unlike 1966, no breakthrough ever came. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into months. And still, the trophy stayed missing. This time, there was no Pickles to save the day. No lucky discovery beneath a bush. no miracle waiting around the corner. Slowly, the trail went cold. Officials began to fear the very worst. Evidence suggested the trophy had been melted down, its gold sold off and scattered, never to be seen again. If that was true, one of football's greatest treasures no longer existed. It had survived decades of history, World Cups, champions, and countless unforgettable moments. But it could not survive a second theft. A priceless piece of football history was gone forever. Yet, even as the old trophy faded into legend, football was already moving forward. Luckily, the future had been prepared long before. Back in 1974, FIFA had unveiled a brand new World Cup trophy. This new design would become the symbol of modern football. Created by Italian sculptor Silvio Gazzaniga, it showed two human figures lifting the world above their heads, a powerful image of victory, unity, and global competition. It quickly became one of the most recognizable trophies in all of sport, and FIFA had learned a hard lesson from the past. No nation would ever be allowed to keep this trophy forever. Champions may lift it, celebrate with it, and create memories around it. But eventually, it must always be returned. The original remains under FIFA's protection, preserved as part of football's shared history, a rule born directly from the remarkable journey of the Jules Rimet Trophy. Looking back, the entire story feels almost impossible to believe. One trophy, at the center of two extraordinary mysteries. Twice it vanished from the world stage. Once it came back through an unbelievable stroke of luck. And once, it slipped away into history forever. Yet through it all, one hero shines brightest of them all. Not a politician, not a football star, not a detective. Just a little dog named Pickles. His discovery made him one of the most unusual heroes in sports history. He never trained for it and never understood what he had found. Yet, he did what an entire police force could not. More than half a century later, people still remember him. Because history is so often shaped by the most unexpected moments. The Jules Rimet Trophy may be lost forever, but its story lives on through the history of the game. It reminds us that even the greatest treasures can be lost, and yet the memories they leave behind can last forever. One trophy, two thefts, and one legendary little dog.